I'm gonna start this new series, and it's gonna be the first entry in that series, and it's called "Message to Black Women." I ran across this post on Instagram, and as you can see, it's a young lady saying that who the f dating to marry at this age. I'm guessing she's a young lady, and another lady responds who seemed to be a little bit more, uh, at least to be using her brain a little bit more by saying, "Y'all date and fall in love and break up." And the young lady then replies, "Yeah." So why am I speaking on this? Why am I naming this series "Message to Black Women"? I understand that in our community, and it's crazy because I released a video I think a day or two ago about why I don't support interracial dating. And when you see stuff like this and a post that I'm about to get into after I finish my commentary of how a lot of black women feel, it just kind of can be disheartening to a lot of black men who really love black women and want to marry black women and want to start a black family. But I always tell you it's hope, because it's not all black women that think like this. But I want to make this channel for the women who in our community because a lot of women in our community, you got to understand, a lot of these young ladies in our community today, 40 and under, they didn't have no good guidance. They didn't have a mother to teach them the right way. Their mother was constantly dating different men and never had a ring and never got married, never saved herself for marriage. Just was I hate to say it for the lack of word, a cum bucket. Basically, that's what you is. Um, if you're a woman who all you care about is just, I want a man to be in the bed with me. He don't have to give me his last name. We just gonna do this relationship thing. Um, you a cum bucket. That's what you are, because men. One thing about men, as a man, I can say this and I can atone to this. A lot of time in a relationship, we will do all kind of different things, but when it comes to marriage and certain type of levels of a commitment, if a woman don't put her foot down and demand that, we won't do it. And some women will say, or some people will say, everybody don't want to be married. Well, you're a cum bucket, man, or whoever you are. You're a cum bucket. That's all you are, and that's all you're gonna be looked for. And the issue with that is, this is the issue of that. This is the main issue with that I have with it, and why does it bother me, and how does it affect me? A lot of time when you're in these cum bucket situations, quote unquote relationships, with people who not gonna marry you, because why would they? I mean, they've been with you for so amount of long, or not so much that they've been with you for a long time. They got all the they got all the marriage benefits without being married to you. So why would they go bind themselves with a piece of paper, right? Because hey, I can get sex when I want. I get treated like a king. She cooks, she clean, or even if she don't cook, she clean. She doing all these things, and she not my wife. But like I say, the issue with that is a lot of time in these situations, almost all of the time, children is come out of this. And then the children come up out of these type of situations, and the man might leave, or it might be a situation where y'all don't be together no more, and now you stuck raising these children. See, that's the whole thing with this whole thing that she's saying. That's my issue with what she's saying, because she's saying who the f marries and date who the f dating to marry at this age. And like I said, I'm guessing she's a young lady. She looks like a young lady. And a lot of times women feel as though, well, I'm young, I'm just having fun and all this and all that. And it's the same thing for the OnlyFans women and the women who offering a triple X material. You feel like right now you young, right? You feel like, well, I'm young, I could do this and get away. And for the OnlyFans and the people who got OnlyFans, I want to let y'all know something. Listen, the internet is forever. As a matter of fact, right now I'm screen recording this that I see on Instagram. All it takes is for somebody to screen record your OnlyFans, and guess what? You could never go in that person's phone, whoever that person is. You can be somebody. You might not be nobody right now. You can be somebody big in the future. You might not be nobody big, but you might have children in the future. And the internet is forever. So anything you do on the internet, somebody can always bring it back up. and say, look, this is her before she got famous, naked on OnlyFans. You'll be embarrassed by your husband. If you is married, you'll be embarrassed. You could possibly be getting divorced. Your children gonna be embarrassed. So you got to think about these things when you quote unquote young and having fun. But that's another subject about OnlyFans. I might do a video on that. But one of the main issues in our community, I'm talking about probably the number one issue in our community besides abortion. The number one issue in the black community is 70 some percent of children are being raised without their father. And for the children that's raised without a father amounts of 71% of high school dropout. They account for 85% of all youth in prison. They account for 90% of runaways and homeless. They account for 80% of racists and people with anger issues. And they also account of 85% of children with behavior disorder. And when you look at the black community and you see the ruins that it's in, the complete disarray that it's in, it's because these children was not raised with fathers. This is the number one issue in our community. And when you have people that's quote unquote young and having fun, this is the type of stuff that come up out of that. And if you go back to before the civil rights movement, before the 1964 and all these state benefits and all that, people kept the family together. And when you go before the 1960s, think about it. If you don't know, just go look at those people back in the 1960s. It was hard for black people, but guess what? Black people was not killing each other. Um, you had, and they, it was the black community was a thriving community everywhere. A lot of people like to talk about Black Wall Street, but every black area at that time was a thriving community. Maybe not super rich, but it was thriving. You know what I'm saying? Because the people who did go to school and be lawyers and be doctors, they stayed in the hood. They wasn't able to move around white people, but they didn't have to move around white people because they stayed in the hood around their own people, and all the people in the neighborhood was married. They was raising their homes, and it was just a nice time. Just think about and the crazy thing about that was this was under the Jim Crow laws at a time where black people couldn't eat in certain places, couldn't drink at water fountains, but they still was thriving because they believed in God and they believed in keeping the nuclear family together. They didn't believe in this quarter. Matter of fact, they have a name for it now. Back then women wasn't just having multiple children out of wedlock, if any, right? You know what I'm saying? They was looked at as whores, and then you switched it to thoughts, and not even got a word to the point where it's like a grandiose name. They call city girls now, and these are women who just promiscuous and they just mess with nigga to nigga, whoever got the bag, right? And that's very, very terminus because what it does is to the black community, to black women, is they ruin their whole 20s, and some in these situations today, they whole 30s, and believe it or not, they got women in their 40s, and at this point now they angry. You see them in the store a lot of times. They angry. They got multiple children out of wedlock, and they still playing this. Oh, I'm a city girl. I don't want. You wanted that at one time. You wanted the relationship at one time, but now it's harder for you to get a man that you really want because not every man gonna be accepting of you and your 12 kids. Not every man gonna be accepting of you and your attitude that you accumulated from all those years when you was quote unquote having fun. Because trust me, the men having fun too. And a lot of time women get their heart and their feelings involved, when the man don't. He just, doing it for sex. And what happens is, that's why you hear a lot of women in their 30s talking about they bipolar. No, you're not bipolar, sweetheart. But what happened is, over the years, you have let so many men into your womb unprotected until you got all these different spirits inside of you. Because everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. And it's to the point now where you have all these men's spirits living on the inside of you because semen is white blood cells. So this is why you'll date somebody, and I've seen this in my own life. This is why you'll date somebody and you'll start to take on they personality. I've dated women. I remember when I was a very angry man in the world, before I came to Christ, and I would date some of these women and they would be so sweet. But after, we in a relationship for a amount of time and I'm constantly, um putting my seed inside them, you begin to see these women begin to be just like me. And so a lot of times you hear women say they bipolar, and it's because you got all these semens that has not all, maybe they didn't all bring babies to life, but they that blood went inside your body, and you can't take that out once it's inside your body. You might even push. A lot of times women might want to say, "Well, I push." You ain't push all of it out because it's gonna stay because the way it's set up. You still gonna have some of that DNA in you from that man, and so now you're in your 30s and you got all these mental disorders and you having all these wild feelings and thinking because you got all these spirits inside of you. And until you come to Christ and get somebody to lay hands on you and fill you with the Holy Spirit, this is gonna be a battle for you, right? But we gotta raise our daughters, man, and that's why I spoke about how the black family was when we was together before the civil rights movement, man. We was thriving because children grew up in homes where they understood the masculine principle and the feminine principle, and they understood that neither one is above each other, but when they come together they bring beautiful things to this world, like children. This is why I don't support homosexuality, because guess what? Homosexuality is a sin, and we know it's a sin. We know it's abnormal because why? Two men can't reproduce, two women can't reproduce, right? But that's another subject for another day. But what bothers me so much about this is how a lot of black women think in our community. And it's all fine, it's all fun, and it's all cool, fine, and dandy until what? Now you 32, you got 6 kids, right? You done mess with book, and now you looking at this post, because there's a lot of women who looked at this post and probably said to themselves, I wish I could go back to her age and not have all these 4 kids. Man, kids, listen, man, let me get something understood with y'all. And a lot of people don't understand. Yeah, the babies be sweet, they beautiful, and children are amazing blessing from the Most High. But listen, man, children are something, bro. I know a lot of women today, right now, who CNAs and they almost 40 years old, and some of them past 40. You know why they still CNAs? Because they had multiple children out of wedlock, and even though they started being a CNA in their early 20s or mid to late 20s, they end up getting stuck at a CNA position and not being able to go back to school and be an LPN or nurse or a nurse practitioner. The reason why they never was able to do those things because they got anchored down by children. Having children before the right time will anchor you. Either way it go, as a single mother, it will anchor you. Because you got a lot of men today don't want to deal with single mothers. Because, it's really not, they got a lot of men who will be a stepfather, but a lot of men don't, because a lot of men look at it to the point of it's like this here. You know, here I am, I'm coming and I love you, and now I got to take care of the rest of these children. And whoever they dad is, he out somewhere living his life, might be taking care of another family. But I got to use my resources to not only take care of you, which is, I'm supposed to do that because you my girl, or I want to be in a relationship with you. But now I got to take care of these children. And it's just not fair to a lot of men. And women understand that. But, what can they do? They done made these mistakes at a young age, and nobody didn't tell them not to do it. They didn't listen to their mama. Their mama might have gave them advice, but why listen to her? She had you and her 3 sisters, and you and her 2 brothers, and no man around the house. She had different kind of men. She was living her best life in her 30s and 40s, and this is what you seen. There was no dad in the home to make you understand, and that's why I'm making this series amidst the black woman, because what I want to do is give y'all the understanding and give y'all the foresight of y'all decisions today. Right? It's fun. It's all fine and dandy. It's all fine and dandy. Right? It's all fine and dandy when you having fun with the trap boy. And then next thing you know, you end up Breonna Taylor. And why do I say that? Breonna Taylor, she died the night that she died, and it was wrong. She got killed for nothing. But because she was dating trap dudes, she just so happened to be at his house when this situation took place, and he shot the police through the door first, and the cop just kicked the door in disarray, shooting everybody, and she was there. When you're dealing with trap dudes, right? And as somebody who used to live that lifestyle, when you're dealing with trap dudes, you gotta understand, baby, it's gonna be fine and dandy. You gonna take the trips. You gonna have a designer. You gonna smoke weed all day for free if that's what you into. But guess what? It's a dark side to that. And a lot of time the mothers, these single mothers, they can't tell you the dark side because you don't. Most of the time, these young women don't listen to their mothers because, like I said earlier, a lot of time they seen their mothers do the same thing. But this is where fathers come in at. This is why fathers is so important. And like I say, I'm gonna start this series because for the children, for the young ladies who don't have fathers in their life, hopefully I can be their voice to let them know, listen, stop, take a break, understand what you're doing, and understand the decisions that you're making. That's gonna have long-term effects. Just understand it. Now, if you still want to make the decision, hey, be my guest because I'm not telling you what to do. My job is to give you the advice and let you know this is what can happen. This is what will happen. You have all these children out of wedlock, you're going to have some hard days. You're going to have some hard days. Then not only do you got to date somebody who's willing to accept your children, the world's so wicked today, you be done dated some guy, you don't know who he is, because these women don't do research on the men they date most of the time, and and he might not have it in his jacket, but he looking at your daughter the whole time you think he loving you. He looking at your son sexually, and the whole time you think he loving you, and he using you. They got dudes, man, believe it or not, and I know a lot of people not going to believe it, they got dudes who target women with children. Right? Because that's what they all about. They pedophiles. And this is the type of stuff that this is the kind of thing that you put on yourself when you quote unquote who dating to marry at this age. Listen, sweetheart, if you ain't dating to marry, every relationship and this men too, but I just for my black women right now, you not supposed to be, and if you is just dating and not just having fun after marriage, make sure you use protection. And protection don't always work, but I'm just saying, make sure you're using protection. And as somebody who is a Christian, a man of God, I don't believe in marriage out of sex out of wedlock. But I do understand everybody not a Christian, even people that is a Christian, sometimes that can be hard for some people, especially young people, who live in a wild, fun life. But one thing about being in a living fun life, sometimes when you're doing certain things that you're not supposed to do, they have consequences. They have consequences. You know what I'm saying? I remember I watched the movie Temptation, Tyler Perry Temptation. I never forget, man, when I watched that movie, man, I was so distraught after that movie because it was like, this is a lot of women today. These women that see a guy, he got all the money, he got everything going for himself, and they just dive. They'll dive right in the head first and don't know if this man got HIV, don't know what this man got going. All they know is he got money, and that's why if any men stumble across this video, this is why we have to stay in our daughter's life. This is why, because when you see these women on Instagram twerking, when you see these women with OnlyFans, these black porno stars, I can bet my life on it, my whole entire life, and I'll be willing to die, that none of these women came up with their fathers. I'm not saying that they don't know their father. I'm not saying that they had a relationship with their father. But I'm saying they was not raised in the same home with their father, because a father and a daughter have a special, special relationship. And by them having that special relationship, she refused. Not saying she gonna be a upstanding citizen and never make a mistake, but it's certain thing that a daughter being raised by her father, the relationship they have is certain thing that she not gonna do, because she know that's not only gonna embarrass her, she gonna embarrass her father. Now, all of the people you see that's on these OnlyFans and twerking on it, they embarrassing their mother. They embarrassing, some of them have children. They embarrassing somebody. But I'm saying, a daughter, with a little girl or with a young lady, her first love is her father. And if she don't get that love from her father, she will go on in life. She will go in life searching for that. And that's a lot of times what happened to a lot of these young ladies. They didn't grow up with a father. And so in junior high, but in high school, they fall in love with this guy. And, he become like a father figure. He become like a father figure to him. And that not really like a father figure, but they never had a love from a man. They never had love from no man, because they daddy wasn't there, they brother don't count. and this dude love them, and it's just like they be so over heels, and they give up sex before marriage, and sometimes have babies. And after that, they heart get broke. Then they go to another dude, and they heart get broken. They constantly in life searching for that male energy that they never got from their father, and it just leave a trail of broken hearts, a trail of spirits stuck inside your body if you having sex with these men, which is nine times out of 10 you will. And now you just going through it. And now you 30 years old, you got 4 children, and now men don't even take you serious. Men don't take you serious, but not men who about something. You might have another guy who was just like the guys you were dealing with or worse, but no real man gonna want to take you serious because he looking at you like you got all these children and no husband. You never even had a ring. You never made none of these men marry you. Just let constant men inseminate you without demanding a ring, and you can't make no man marry you, but you can hold your wound and say, look, women can, because women like to say, well. Women are like to say, well, I can't make him marry you. You right. I agree with you on that. But guess what? Your wound, he ain't got, and he can't make you give up your wound. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so sad, man, that you see this in the black community, and it's almost like marriage not even nothing. Marriage don't mean nothing. And I was telling a young lady the other day, just like on Diary of a Mad Black Woman, you seen in that movie that the mistress wanted to cut the plug and let him die, but his wife wanted to save him. And anything happened to your quote unquote baby dad or your living boyfriend, if it's a medical issue or something like that, there you can't go back there. You don't get no decisions on if he gon' being married means a lot. You know what I'm saying? But that's just another story. And I want to also let this. I want to bring this next video up because the leader of the City Girls, the queen, the head honcho of the City Girls, she made this comment, and it's very destructive. It's very destructive because, as I said before, as we see in this comment, this is how a lot of black women think, especially the younger one. This is how they think because a lot of them grew up in households where they seen their mama do everything. Right? They seen their mama do everything. The man left her, so they don't even know what a constructive nuclear family looks like because they never experienced it. So sometimes it's hard to not want to experience something because you don't even know about it. So what you want to experience it for? But for me, in my opinion, I would think that would be the reason. Like I got a lot of brothers I talk to and I coach, and they always tell me that my main issue, my main thing is to stay in my child's life because I didn't have that father. You know what I'm saying? But I want to let y'all hear this. Want to let y'all hear this little thing I seen on Instagram by the queen of the City Girls from the rap group City Girls named Carisha. And I'm gonna chime in.
Before we rap, my character is like different from Young Miami, a city girl. I'm a wife. It's very emotional. It's a real serious scene. It showed like a whole different side of me. It's very like a vulnerable state. Like it's real emotional. It's real deep. A wife? Do you see yourself being a wife real soon? No. No, you don't? No, just because I'm not saying that I never wanted to be married. I don't see I don't know. I'm not one of them girls that want to be a wife. You just good. You're in a relationship without being in a relationship, but in a relationship. Yeah, exactly. That's my type. There you go. That's my love language. That's my love language for me. For me. Only for you. For me. I'm speaking for me, Carisha.
And as you just heard, the head, the honcho, the queen of the City Girls, the City Girls, I think penned that saying, City Girls, just have sex, just be cool and give your body to all these multiple men. And as we seen with this young lady here, she was messing with Puff Daddy. Well, she messes with Puff Daddy, and a couple weeks ago it came out that Puff Daddy had a baby, and she was all on Instagram acting by she did. There was just a whole big old mess up about that. And listen, when you and some people could have say, well, what if she was married to Puff Daddy? Listen, if she was married to Puff Daddy, and he had a baby outside of her relationship, he could have had to pay for that. He really could have had to pay for that. But at this point, he don't have to. He could easily just cut her off at any given time, and that baby mama, he financially reliable for her for the next 18 years. and it's just have fun, do you, and it's very destructive. It's very destructive because when you have children, man, and you bring these children in this world, women cannot raise children. They just can't do it. Right? This is why you see the issue that you see in the black community. I'm not saying that women can't be and listen, when I say women, I'm not saying all. It's never all of nothing. But if you look, let's match the numbers up. Don't get in your feelings. Don't argue. Don't come on my comment or come on my post on my video comment nothing stupid. Just look at the issue. Just look at it. We don't have to do the whole thing or well that's what you how I feel. This is fact. What community is the most destructive? What community had the most criminals? What community has that? It's the same community that has 70 some percent. That's a huge number. That's too big. 70 some percent of the households are being raised by a single mother. It's no coincidence that these things come from that community. And guess what community that is? That's the black community. Yes, they have Mexican, white people, and all these other people who have single parent home. Yes, they have the same issues that we have. But our communities, which is the smallest percentage of people, not the smallest, but one of the smallest, we only account for 13% of the U.S. population. Why is it that our communities is so destroyed? Why is it that we always the ones killing each other like dogs? Why is these things happening? Because they being ran by single parent households, and that was not the way that it was set up to be. This is why I said in the beginning of the video, if you go back before the civil rights movement, when black homes when the nuclear family was a must in the black community. If you had a baby and was not married, you was looked at like you was shamed. You was pretty much looked down upon, right? And I believe they need to bring that back. And you know, I'm gonna make videos about the brothers because brothers shouldn't be just because a lot of times, I always say this, and that's something I never stand back on. This is majority brothers' fault. The women got to take a piece of the pie too, because y'all know the men that y'all reproduce with. But this is really the black man's fault for just constantly spreading his seed everywhere and not staying, leaving these women heartbroken, leaving these children without a father, which brings all the rest of this drama that I said earlier. The percentages are there. This is why you see this stuff. This is not a coincidence. This is not a coincidence. Let me read the statistics to you again. This statistics, man. This ain't nothing I made up. 71% of fatherless home account for. No, I mean, 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 85% of all youth in prison come from fatherless homes. 90% of runaways and homeless come from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists with anger problems come from fatherless homes. 85% of children with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. These are the numbers. These are the numbers. This is why these other families, some of them, these other families I done seen, and these white families for sure, they will divorce and stay in the same house because they know how important, or they'll wait to divorce until the children reach college because they know how important it is for a child to come up in the nuclear household with the mother and the father, who is both very important to the child. Same thing if a child raised by, even though single fathers are more successful than single mothers, but even if a child raised by his father, it's still going to be a chemical imbalance. This is why God made it the way. God don't make no mistake. He made it the way it take a man and a woman, not two men, not two women. It take a man and a woman to come together to bring forth life. And those men and women supposed to stand on that. This is why you have children their whole life, like I said, chasing men. Even the young men, they go join gangs and they get caught up in all kind of stuff because they don't know that they looking for something, and what they looking for is their father. Is a spirit, is an emptiness in them, men and women, and they search for that. They yearn for that. They yearn to have that relationship with somebody, and they don't know it's their father that they searching for. They go find drugs. They go and join gang. They deal with multiple men. Some of them be promiscuous. Right? And the whole time what they looking for is a relationship with their fathers. This is why you'll see a lot of these rappers. They haven't talked to their fathers in 30 years, and even though they ain't talked to them, they rich now and they still want a relationship with their father because the father is so important to a young man or young woman life. Right? But this whole thing about, oh, I'm gonna be a city girl until I get a certain age, or I'm gonna be a city girl until I get a ring, is very counterproductive to the black community. And young women, especially my young black women, all women, but especially my young black women, y'all gotta stop this. Y'all gotta stop this. You know, the highest honor a man can give a woman is his last name. And the highest honor a man can give a woman, the highest honor a woman can give a man is his child. And the highest honor a man can give a woman is his last name. Ladies, stop giving men the honor of having your baby, and whether he stay or not, it's still an honor, right? Stop giving men that honor without men giving you the honor of a ring. You deserve that. Now, if stuff don't work out, which is if you wait married, if you marry the right person, and not married for wrong stuff, not married because you're looking for a dude with money. Not saying you're supposed to marry no broke dude. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you ignore whatever about a dude just because he got money. You'll marry him. No, marry somebody that you got a real connection with. Marry somebody that you might not even be in love, but y'all can grow into love. And what I mean by growing to love, love sometimes can change, right? Love sometimes can get dull and boring, but that's still on y'all. Y'all got to keep it spicy. You know what I'm saying? But love and loyalty, Lord, that's what love means. Love means love and loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Somebody gonna be loyal to, somebody that you gonna be willing to have certain disagreements with. But I'm saying all that to say this: save yourself for marriage, ladies. Save yourself for marriage to the best of your abilities. And if you fall short, that's okay. But don't be out here just having that mindset that I'ma be a city girl for right now, because being a city girl comes with a whole bunch of bad stuff that a lot of these women don't talk about. It come with having all these children out of wedlock and no help and struggling. It come with catching diseases. It come with dealing with men. And these days, dealing with men, a lot of women have that mindset that men do them and they do them. They could do them like the men. Messing with multiple of these dudes, and one of them get in love, and now he want to go crazy and kill you. We've seen a spike in men killing black women. This is something that the black community never really had a problem with. But why do you see that now? Because men are in a feeling. A lot of them is raised by their mothers and no father, so they so emotional. They fall in love with this quote unquote woman who is a city girl, and things turn bad. They cheat and she cheat, and they can't take it. Now they want to kill her. And so y'all gotta be very, you gotta be very sacred with your womb, because your wound is very sacred, man. God, for the women who feel like, well, men can do this, why we can't? You got a wound. God bless you with the gift of bringing life to the world. Ain't everybody just supposed to be enjoying that? That's for your husband. But like I said, I understand a lot of women is raised in bad homes, and they really don't know that the stuff that they doing is wrong, and they gonna have a boyfriend in high school, college, and just be having wild sex and just doing all these crazy things. But don't have that mindset that who dating to marry at this age. Because guess what? You need every relationship that you get in should be your aim for that to be your last relationship. Ain't nobody out here just because it's too dangerous, too serious out here. You don't know who this dude is, you don't know who this girl is. It's dangerous out here to be playing these type of games. So I'm gonna close on that note, man. And I think it's gonna be the first entry in a new series I'm starting, Message to Black Women. Thank y'all for listening. Be blessed.